Well, if you have to ask which side to work on here, how many haven't been paying attention the last 30 videos? So obviously, left side we're going to work with, and we're going to see if we can make some changes here. Now, what you can't do, so don't pull this, I've seen people do this, is to start canceling out this 3b with this b and just say that it's the sine of 3 or something. I don't know what they do. Okay. I need to find the sine of 3 beta. And I also need to find the cosine of 3 beta. So let's kind of work this as a side note. The sine of 3 times an angle should be equal to the sine of twice an angle. Oops. Plus an angle. So we've got a double angle formula here. Is going to show up down here in a sum formula for sine. So we're applying both of them. We're applying the sum formula and the double angle. So this will be the following. It will be the sine of 2b times the cosine of beta plus the cosine of 2 beta times the sine of beta. Now we've got to expand these guys out. Just notice our answer. Now if our answer had something with like betas over here in it, then I might not have to do that, but I'm gonna have to in this case. So what does this thing give me? Well, you know what, before I expand this out, okay, let's take a look at this guy, because maybe some of the stuff in here will hop into here and we won't have an issue. So let's try that. So what am I going to do here? Well, I'm going to, in a different color, work on the cosine of 3 beta, which is the cosine of 2 beta. I still don't like that. Plus beta, like that. So that's going to be equal to the cosine of 2 beta times the cosine of beta, okay, minus the sine of 2 beta times the sine of beta. Now what I'm looking for here is maybe some terms that are common, but I don't have anything yet. I could, well, let's do the following. Let's get a common denominator over here. So I'm going to do this guy in blue and this guy in green so that it's not as big of a mess. So the common denominator here is sine beta, cosine beta. So this guy top and bottom is going to get multiplied by cosine beta. So I'm going to multiply this thing by cosine beta. So here's what I get. I get the sine of 2 beta times the cosine squared of beta plus the cosine of 2 beta times the cosine of beta times the sine of beta. Then we're going to subtract off this green guy multiplied by sine beta. So that'll be cosine 2 beta cosine beta. Oops, we're going to multiply that guy by sine times sine beta minus sine 2 beta times sine squared beta. Okay, like that. And that whole thing is over sine beta times cosine beta. This thing should be equal to 2. So what we like is if something would cancel out. Let's pull this one. Okay, so I'm going to try this. So what I'm noticing here is that sine 2 beta cosine square beta and sine 2 beta sine square beta, well, they look like they could go together, and I could just factor out some stuff. So I'm going to rewrite this whole thing. I'm going to do it in yellow here now. It's going to look like this. Well, you know what? I'll keep the same colors. So it's going to look like this. Sine 2 beta cosine square beta minus, now in the green, okay, a sine of 2 beta times the sine squared of beta. Guys, when I'm working through this right now, I don't know where the end is going to be. I'm just manipulating things and seeing what happens. The only thing that I'm doing, though, is making sure that whatever I apply here has got to be it's got to be legitimate. I can't do any rules that would violate like the way fractions work or multiplication works. So as long as you stay consistent, you'll be all right. Let's see here. These last two have sine beta, cosine beta in them, so I can factor that out. So I could go something like this if I wanted to. Now I'm just going to start writing the same color. I could pull out a sine 2 beta, and that's going to leave me with cosine squared beta minus sine squared beta. Okay, so that's this ugly mess. And over here, I could factor out a cosine beta times a sine beta. And I'd be left with cosine. Well, actually, let's take a look at that. Cosine 2 beta, cosine 2 beta, cosine beta, cosine beta, sine beta, sine beta. I might as well not write this down because these guys cancel each other out, it looks like. Oh, wait. Maybe not. So this negative here, got my first term minus my second term, and my second term should have a minus in there, so we need to distribute this guy. So this is plus a negative right here and a positive right there. So let's see here. This sine 2 beta, this guy right here, should be plus. Okay, and this guy, cosine beta, that guy should be minus still. So let's switch this guy to plus. That's going to make a difference. Okay. And now let's look somewhere down here. Now remember, this whole thing is over sine beta, cosine beta. And I didn't write that, actually. I'll do that right now. I should write that on every step so that you don't forget about it. Okay, so this whole guy over sine beta, cosine beta, like that. Now what do we want to do? Okay, so again, we'll factor out in the front here. We're going to factor out a sine 2 beta, and then we're left with cosine squared beta plus sine squared beta. This guy's going to be 1, so we're going to be good there. Back here, I've got cosine 2 beta, cosine beta sine beta. This should be, this is still a minus right here because I came from, and this is kind of written ugly here, but there was subtraction in between, so we'll subtract this guy, but then we'll have to add this guy at the end. So this is still subtraction. Okay, so I got this guy minus this guy, and those should cancel out. So that was really nice. So we're not left with anything back over there. And this guy is over sine beta times cosine beta. Now this gentleman up here, that's 1. Because they're both squared, same angle. So we're good to go there. So all we have left is the sine of 2 beta over sine beta cosine beta. Now the sine of 2 beta is equal to the sine, it's actually equal to 2 sine beta cosine beta, and that's still over sine beta times cosine beta. So these guys all cancel, and you are left with just the number 2, which is what we wanted.